Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is Dr. Salimur Rahman, and it's our fifth lecture in the Project Management Lecture Series, and today's topic is Earned Value Analysis. In this lecture, we will discuss the definition of Earned Value Analysis, various terms and metrics used in Earned Value Analysis, the steps involved in EVA. We will solve two numerical examples and then apply the lessons learned on two practical problems, and finally we will discuss results and draw conclusions. What is earned value analysis? Earned value analysis is a method that allows a project manager to measure the amount of work actually performed on a project beyond the basic review of cost and schedule reports. It is used to find how much time and budget should have been spent on the work performed so far and analyze the deviations in the schedule and budget as the project proceeds. The terms that we use in EVA or Earned Value Management, there's a term actual cost of work performed, the abbreviation being ACWP. This term is now replaced with simple actual cost, abbreviated by AC. Likewise, the term which was previously known as budgeted cost of work scheduled, or BCWS, is currently known as planned value or PV. The budgeted cost of work performed, BCWP, is nowadays known as earned value. So instead of using the terms ACWP, BCWS and BCWP, we will use the terms AC for actual cost, PV for planned value, and EV for earned value. Then another term that we will use frequently is budget at completion, which is the projected budget till completion of the project. The earned value can be determined by multiplying the budget at completion with the percentage of work performed or work completed. Then estimate to complete, ETC, can be found by subtracting the actual cost from BAC or from estimate at completion if the estimate at completion is different from BAC. The schedule variance can then be determined by taking the difference of the earned value and the planned value. If this difference is positive, it is a good sign. It's a sign that the project is ahead of schedule. If this value is negative, that means in our activities we are lacking behind the schedule. Likewise, the cost variance, CV, can be determined by taking the difference of the actual cost and the earned value, and if this difference is positive, it's a good sign indicating that we have earned more or we have completed more work than we have spent. If this value is negative, it means the project is over budget. We have exceeded the budget allocated for the activities or for the work that has been performed or completed so far. The Cost Performance Index, CPI, is the ratio of EV and AC. Remember that difference of EV and AC was cost variance, and the ratio of these two is cost performance. And if this ratio is more than 1, it is desirable, and this ratio will be more than 1 if the cost variance is positive. Similarly, the Schedule Performance Index, SPI, is the ratio of earned value and the planned value. And once again, if this ratio is greater than 1, it is desirable and it is linked with positive value of SV, schedule variance. As the project progresses, we may encounter different problems, cost escalations, delays in activities performance, and hence there may be a need to revise the budget at completion, and that revised budget is known as estimate at completion. Now, in different situations, we can use different relationships to estimate this cost at completion. One is EAC is equal to the actual cost plus the budget at completion minus the earned value. The second relationship that can be used to compute EAC is budget at completion divided by CPI or cost performance index. The third relationship is EAC is equal to AC, which is the actual cost, plus the ratio of BAC minus EV and CPI multiplied with SPI in the denominator. Finally, we can compute the estimated completion as BAC divided by CPI into SPI. The difference between these two is that here we are subtracting EV, but then we are adding AC. And in this method of estimation, we do not subtract EV, but then we do not add AC. Now, here are the situations where these relationships can be used. If the original estimates were fundamentally flawed, we determine or we encounter variations in all indices, in all metrics, then it is advisable to go for new bottom-up estimates of estimate to complete, and then using that new estimate to complete, we can determine estimate at completion, which will be the sum of the actual cost plus this new value of estimate to complete. However, if there is no variance at all, we are going as per schedule, then EAC will be same as BAC and ETC will be the difference of EAC and the actual cost. If we encountered variance in cost, and we are sure that this variance would no longer continue, it would cease to exist, then we can determine ETC by taking this difference BAC minus EV, and EAC can then be determined by finding AC plus BAC minus EV. In other words, adding AC to this computed value of ETC. If we encountered cost variance CV and we expect that the cost variance would continue, then we should use the relationship BAC over CPI minus AC to determine ETC and BAC over CPI to determine EAC. Finally, if the project is over budget and past due, then we need to reuse these relationships BAC minus EV over CPI into SPI for determining ETC and BAC minus EV divided by CPI into SPI and added to this AC or actual cost to this ratio, and that would give us estimate at completion. So for different scenarios, we use different relationships to determine estimate at cost, so estimate at completion and estimate to completion. There are two other terms. One is to complete cost performance index. Instead of using two C's here, the notation, this symbol here is TCPI, not TCCPI, and there are again two relationships for this. However, it is TCPI basically is the ratio of work remaining with the funds remaining. If we base it on BAC, budget at completion, then TCPI can be found by using this ratio BAC minus EV divided by BAC minus AC. But if we want to base TCPI on EAC, and that we would do if EAC is different from BAC. So the relationship is same, work remaining divided by funds remaining, but since BAC is no more valid, we need to use EAC instead. So we will use this ratio BAC minus EV, which is the work remaining, divided by EAC minus AC, or the funds remaining with us, whereas the total funds required for the project are now different. They are not the same as BAC. Finally, TSPI is the ratio of unearned schedule divided by remaining duration, and that can be determined using this relationship PD minus ES over TD minus AT. Here PD is planned duration, ES is earned schedule, TD is total duration, and AT is actual time, the time at which we are computing TSPI. And finally, if we want to compute variance at completion, that will be the difference of BAC and EAC. If this difference is positive, that means we have completed the project in less amount than we initially allocated. But if this difference is negative, that would mean we have spent more compared to the initial allocation for the budget. So positive value of VAC is desirable. When we do earned value management, or we analyze the earned value, there are 3 steps. In the first step, we gather data, and data gathering involves finding the budget at completion BAC, computing the planned value PV, the earned value EV, and the actual cost AC. Then using this data or these estimates, we find the current project status, and the current project status is determined by the schedule variance and the cost variance, or alternatively we can compute cost performance index and schedule performance index. As I mentioned earlier, these schedule and cost variances are the differences, and CPI and SPI are the ratios. Positive values of these variances are desirable. The ratio more than 1, whether it is CPI or SPI, if this ratio is more than 1, it is desirable. And then if you want to forecast or project the project's future performance, we can compute ETC, estimate to complete, and estimate at completion. This is a revised budget. EAC is a revised budget for the project, and ETC is expected cost from this point onwards till the completion of the project. Finally, we can also compute TCPI and TSPI, and difference between these two, CPI and TCPI, and SPI and TSPI, is that CPI and SPI are what we have earned right now till date, and TCPI and TSPI are what we expect in future. So while values greater than 1 are desirable in case of CPI and SPI, values less than 1, ratios less than 1 are desirable for TCPI and TSPI. Here are typical curves for the planned value, earned value, and actual cost. These have been plotted for a project whose duration was expected to be 20 days, and we determined these up till day 15 and plotted those, and notice that typically the actual cost would be higher than the planned value and the earned value. There can be deviations from this general rule. But if this is so, then say at a time of 15 days, at the completion of 15 days, the schedule variance, which is the earned value, the red line, red curve, minus the planned value, which is the green line or green curve. This indicates the variance in schedule, and since EV is less than PV, this schedule variance will be negative, and this is something undesirable. To determine cost variance, we will take the difference of EV and AC. EV is the red line, red curve, and AC is the blue curve. And once again, EV is less, AC is more. So here again the cost variance is negative, and so it is again undesirable. But this is how usually things would proceed in practical life. Suppose we estimated the cost at the project completion to be at this level. This is something that we can call BAC or BCWS. And later on, because of delays, because of actual cost being more than the planned value, we compute new value of EAC. So say at the completion of 15 days, if this is our EAC and this is our actual cost, then this difference will be ETC, and it will be positive because ETC will be EAC minus AC. Or if we compute ETC first, then we would say EAC will be ETC plus AC. If we plot CPI versus SPI, why do we need to plot these? Is because in certain cases it may be possible that you may have positive CV and negative SV, or positive SV and negative CV. We have learned so far that positive values of CV and SV are good, negative values of CV and SV are not desirable. But what if one of those is positive, the other is negative? That means we cannot look at these two indices or metrics in isolation. Now it can be done simultaneously for CV and SV also, but since they are sensitive to scale, it is usually desirable to look at the plot of CPI versus SPI. These being ratios, their scales are almost same. We know that if CPI is greater than 1 and SPI is also greater than 1, that means we are going cheaper, we are spending less, and we are accomplishing more. So we are cheaper and faster, or we are inexpensive and faster. If we are in this quadrant where CPI is less than 1 in this range and SPI is also less than 1, then we are costlier and slower. We are over budget and behind schedule. So this region or this quadrant is desirable. It is not desirable to fall in this quadrant. Likewise, this quadrant reflects the region in which we are inexpensive but we are slow, while in this quadrant we are expensive but we are faster. So one thing is good, we are faster, but being costlier is not good. Here being slower is not good, but being inexpensive is something that is desirable. If we plot the actual numerical values of CPI and SPI on this plot, anything that falls in this quadrant indicates something desirable, that we are progressing in a desired manner. If we draw a line with negative slope passing through this intersection, notice that the intersection of these two axes is at 1, 1. then anything above this line is still desirable. This is definitely the best possible region to fall in. But if we fall in this region or in this region, it may still be acceptable, because as we notice in this quadrant, while we are slow, we are spending less. So on one count, we are still happy. Here, we are costlier, but at the same time, we are going faster. We are going ahead of schedule. So there is some consolation being in this region also. But if we fall below this line, then there are certain regions that we can consider separately. If we fall in this circle, obviously the upper portion above this line is definitely in the green region. But if we are below this straight line, but within a circle of radius around 0.2, it is still acceptable. That means a value of CPI like 0.8, 0.85 or 0.9, or a value of SPI being in this range is still acceptable. It is not bad. But if we fall in this region, then we have to worry. And if we happen to fall in this region, then there's a lot to worry about, because here we are neither fast nor we are inexpensive, and the ratios being much lesser than 0.3, maybe 0.2 or 0.1, there should be some serious cause of concerns. So any point falling in the green region, don't worry at all. If you fall in this orange or yellow region, you should be concerned a bit. But if we fall in this region, then there is a lot to be concerned about, and we need to take remedial action. So good points or desirable points, something to be concerned about, and real cause of concern. The TCPI and TSPI plot is opposite to the previous case. Notice here, the red region was here, orange or yellow region was here, and green region was top right. Here it is simply the opposite, because the TCPI and TSPI values less than 1 are desirable. If those values fall in this region below this slanting line, it is good. If they fall within this circle, still it may be acceptable. If these points fall in this yellow region, we should be concerned. And if these points fall in this red region, then there is something seriously wrong and we have to take remedial action. Here is a simple example of how do we compute earned value, cost variance, and the cost performance index. Suppose at certain point in time, a project whose budget was $1,500 was found to be 40% complete at a cost of $900. Compute the earned value, the cost variance, and the cost performance index. We know that the budget for the project is $1,500. This is our value of BAC. We have completed 40% at an expense of $900. This $900 is our actual cost AC, and the project has been completed 40%. In other words, we have an earned value equivalent to 40% of the work. So doing the computation, earned value will be 40% or 0.4 of the project value, which is 1500, which is basically BAC. So the earned value is $600, whereas we have spent $900. So the cost variance will be earned value minus actual cost, but being 600 minus 900, so we are in deficit, or we have spent more and earned less. Negative values in accounting are written in bracket without using the negative sign. CPI, or the cost performance index, will be EV over AC, which is 600 over 900 or 0.667. since CPI is less than 1, or we can say since CV is negative, this is not a desirable situation. Here's another example, a slightly lengthy one. We have recently witnessed the inauguration of the BRT, the Bus Rapid Transit in Peshawar. The BRT project that initially had 34 stations, those number of stations were reduced to 31, and at each station 4 entry gates were planned. The project was to install 4 gates per station in 31 months, and the number of stations was also 31. And since 4 gates were to be installed on each station, that means the project could be completed in 31 months. Each gate was expected to cost $800. In other words, at every station we planned spending $3,200. In the beginning of 25th month, you being the project manager are informed that 112 gates have so far been constructed with a CPI of 0.9091. You are asked to perform earned value analysis and answer the following question. Before we go to the questions, let us have one straight conclusion from this value of CPI. CPI is less than 1, so the situation is not desirable. We have spent more compared to the earned value. Here are the questions that we need to answer. The first question is comment on the project health, time and cost wise. Second question is what is the actual cost of the project right now? Right now here means beginning of month 25 or by the end of 24th month. Third question is, assuming that the cost variance computed at this point in time will continue, how much more money will it take to complete the project? How much more money means estimate to complete. If the cost variance experienced so far were to stop from now on, what is the project's estimate at completion? The next question is, what is the project's TCPI to complete performance index using the project's budget at completion? Next question is, what percentage of work has been completed? Yet another question is, if the inauguration is scheduled 3 months ahead of time, what is the TSPI? If the payment for construction of planned number of gates was to be made in advance each month, what is the present value of the planned budget at an interest rate of 0.3% compounded monthly? Finally, if the payment for construction of planned number of gates was to be made in advance each month, what is the present value of the budget at an interest rate of 0.3 compounded monthly when at the end of the 24th month you are informed to complete the project 3 months ahead of time, that is by the end of 28th month. Answering these questions one by one, we could straight away say that since CPI is less than 1, our CV has to be negative. But let us see how it can be computed. Since CPI is EV over AC, EV becomes equal to CPI into AC, and the CPI is 0.9091. Now the cost variance is EV minus AC, which is 0.9091 minus 1 times AC, or minus 0.0909 times AC. Since AC is the actual cost, it has to be positive, so this CV will be negative. So a ratio less than 1 for CPI means CV has to be negative. And CV being negative means that we are over budget. We also observe that by the end of 24th month, the scheduled production was 96 because we had scheduled to construct 4 gates per month. 4 multiplied with 24 is 96. But we have actually completed constructing 112 gates. So the actual number of gates completed or constructed is more than the planned value, which is 96, or SV is positive, schedule variance is positive. Since the cost variance is negative while the schedule variance is positive, the project is over budget but ahead of schedule. Looking at the second question, what is the actual cost of the project right now? The number of months ended is 24, number of gates built is 112, cost per gate is $800. The earned value is cost per gate into number of gates built, which is 800 into 112, and that comes out to be $89,600. Now the actual cost is EV over CPI. It is 89,600 divided by 0.9091 or $98,560. The next question was, assuming that the cost variance computed at this time will continue, how much more money will it take to complete the project? Our budgeted completion initially planned was cost per gate into number of gates per station into number of stations. So BAC was 800 into 4 into 31 or $99,200. That was our initial budget that we planned in the beginning. Since there is cost variation, we need to determine EAC, estimate at completion, and using the relationship when CV computed is expected to continue, the relationship is EAC is equal to BAC over CPI. BAC we found to be 99,200, CPI is 0.9091. So our EAC or the revised budget for the project is 109,120, slightly more than the initial budget. ETC, estimate to complete, is this EAC minus AC, which is $10,560. That means from this time onwards, from the end of 24th week till completion of the project, we can expect to spend $10,560. The next question was, if the cost variance experienced so far were to stop, what is the project's EAC now? So for this we use another relationship, which is EAC is equal to actual cost plus budget at completion minus EV or earned value. So here EAC will be 98,560 plus 99,200 minus 89,600 or $108,160. Notice the difference here. Here it was 109,120 and here it is 108,160. This is an estimate we get if we assume or we have reasons to believe that the cost variance would continue, and this is our estimate when we have reasons to believe that while we experienced cost variation, there will no more be cost variation in future. Then the next question was, what is the project's TCPI using the project's budget at completion BAC? So TCPI using BAC is BAC minus EV over BAC minus AC, or we get TCPI using BAC as 15. Now TCPI value or ratio more than 1 is not desirable, and this ratio is 15. The next question was, what percentage of work has been completed? The percent work completed is simply earned value into 100 divided by budget at completion, and so it is 89,600 multiplied with 100 divided by 99,200 or 90.32%. So we have completed more than 90% of the planned work. If the inauguration is scheduled 3 months ahead of time, what is the TSPI? Now, in order to find TSPI, we need these four parameters. PD, the planned duration, initially it was 31 months. The total duration now, after the revision of schedule, since we have planned to complete it 3 months in advance, so it will be PD minus 3 or 28 months. AT is the time right now, which is end of 24th month or beginning 25th month. ES is the earned schedule, that is gates built so far divided by gates planned per month. And so that is 112 over 4, which is equivalent to the work of 28 months. Now we can find TSPI, which will be PD minus ES over TD minus AT, or TSPI will be 0.750. And since this TSPI is less than 1, it is something desirable, because that means that we have been ahead of our schedule, so we don't have to hurry in future. We don't have to rush. Next question was, if the payment for construction of planned number of gates was to be made in advance each month, what is the present value of the planned budget at an interest rate of 0.3% compounded monthly? We note that it is an annuity due. Annuity due is an annuity in which payments are made in the beginning of the time period. And the value of A, the numerical value of A, we can find by multiplying 4 with 800, because we had to build 4 gates at a cost of $800 per gate, or overall $3,200. This is how cash flow diagram can be drawn. We have 31 beginning of period payments of A is equal to 3,200 each, and we want to compute their present value P with an interest rate of 0.3% compounded monthly. The relationship that we use is P is equal to A times summation K is equal to 0 to 30, 1 plus I over 100 whole raised to the power minus K. Notice that we sum 31 terms from K is equal to 0 to 30, and this sum comes out to be 94,875. So the present value of these 31 payments of $3,200 each is $94,875. The same question with a slight difference, that if at the end of 24th month, when we had made 24 payments, we are told to complete the project 3 months ahead of time, and so we have 28 months now at our disposal, out of which 24 have already elapsed. We will have two annuities. For initial 24 months, we make payment of $3,200 each. So the amount paid by the end of 24 months will be 24 times A1, or 67,800. The remaining amount is BAC, budget at completion, which was 99,200, minus amount paid so far, which is 67,800. So the amount that we yet have to pay is $22,400, and the time period remaining is 31, which was the initially planned time, minus 3 months because we have to complete it ahead of schedule, and 24 months have already passed, so we are left with 4 months. Now, at the beginning of each such time period of such month, we have to make payment, and overall we have to pay $22,400. So per month we have to pay $5,600. So we have these two annuities, 24 payments of $3,200 each, and then 4 payments of $5,600 each. And if we want to find the present value of this sum of two series, we find that to be $94,968. Let us have a look at a practical problem in the form of example 3. We have a small project that comprises 5 activities. The project can be started by working on activities A and B simultaneously. C can be started once A has been completed, and D can be started after B is completed, and finally the activity E can be started once both C and D are complete. The durations of these activities are 6 days, 4 days, 4 days, 8 days and 4 days, and the cost per day of each activity is given here as $100, $150, $200, $180 and $300. And if we convert these cost per days into cost per hours, they come out to be $12.50 per hour, $18.75 per hour, $25 per hour, $22.5 per hour and $37.5 per hour. Here's the arrow diagram or simple network diagram for this small project, and we note that the critical path is BDE because it is the sum of the duration of these three activities, which is 16, while the sum of these three activities A, C and E is 14. So activities B, D and E are on critical path. Since we have already learned how to use Microsoft Project or how to compute the time duration and the associated costs, if we look at the completion of this project using Microsoft Project, then the tracking Gantt chart can be seen to be like this, where 5 different individuals were supposed to be tasked to perform these activities. They had their own remunerations, and we determined the project completion time to be 16 days and the overall project cost estimate or BAC, budget at completion, as $4,640. Using the Microsoft Project, we can also determine the resources and their related expenses or remunerations, the usage of resources, the amount spent per task or activity, the overall project completion and the budget at completion, BAC. Also we can see EAC, estimated completion, since we assume that this project went as per plan. So the EAC, estimated completion, is same as BAC, budget at completion. Likewise ACWP and BCWP, actual cost of work performed and budgeted cost of work performed, they are all same, $4,640. Let us see how we compute these. Here are the planned cost computations. We compute these on day-to-day basis. So on day 1, we can start with 2 activities, activity A as well as activity B, and these columns indicate the cost per day for the associated activity. For A it is $100, for B it is $150. So on day 1 we end up spending $250. Likewise on day 2, 3, 4, this is the cumulative expense. After 6 days A gets completed and we start C. After 4 days B is finished and we start activity D, and we then mention the associated costs and the daily cost, cost per day and the planned cost. So eventually when E is completed by end of day 16, our overall cost is $4,640. If we want to look at the schedule, so we, instead of mentioning 1 day, we mention the number of hours per day. For first 6 days, activity A consumes 8 hours per day. Likewise activity B consumes 8 hours per day for 4 days. So initial 4 days the row sum is 16, cumulative is 16 and 32, and they keep adding, and this is the percentage of work which is being completed. A, once it gets completed we start C, when B gets completed we start D, and when C and D both are completed we start E. So we write the row sum, that means the hours spent per day, the cumulative hours spent so far and the percentage of hours spent. So overall it becomes 100, At the end of first day, we spent 16 hours, which are 7.69% of overall number of hours, which is 208. If you want to look at these two graphically, the actual cost and the earned value. So the actual costs are shown here and their percentage is shown on this side, on the right side vertical axis. So for instance, at the time of completion, that is end of day 16, the actual cost and the earned value are 100% or $4,640. When we were at the middle, at the end of day 8, our earned value was $2,855, which is 61.5%, and our actual cost was $2,320, which is 50% of the planned value. But in real life, things don't go as per plan. We either lag behind, we get delayed, we sometimes run short of resources, sometimes we are unable to perform as we had planned, and so we either spend more or we fall behind schedule. Actual cost may be higher than initial estimates, some tasks are never completed, or some projects never complete. We will try to see the effect of such eventualities on the same example that we solved just now. We saw that if everything goes exactly as per plan, the project can be completed in 16 days at an expense of $4,640. Now, if we encounter different problems, what will be its effect on this project? Suppose activities A and B, these two are finished as planned, in time at the same expense. But activity C, which was supposed to be completed in 4 days at a cost of $200 per day, suppose it could not be started for 6 days. Its start got delayed by 6 days. And in order to complete the project in time, we had to hire more resources and we had to make them work for 16 hours a day on a fast track so that this activity gets completed in 2 days instead of 4 days. So we squeeze the time of this. We compress time at an added expense, and that expense now is $800 per day. So previously we were supposed to spend 4 multiplied with 2, $800 on completion of this activity. Now we can complete it in 2 days, but that would cost us $1,600, $800 per day. But the good news is that it can be compressed in 2 days. If you look at activity D, it was planned for 8 days, costing $180 per day. But the work on this activity was slow. So while we worked for 8 hours per day, our output was equivalent to 6.4 hours per day. And so this activity could be completed in 10 days. So if you complete this in 10 days for $180 per day, the overall expense on this activity would become $1,800. Finally, activity E, it was supposed to start after completion of C and D and take further 4 days at a cost of $300 per day, overall $1,200. Since we want to complete the project in time, just like activity C, we compress this, we try to complete it in 2 days instead of 4 days, but now it would cost us $1,000 per day, or overall $2,000. But the good news is that with this additional expense, we will still be able to complete it in 16 days. This is how the network diagram would look like. Activities B, D and E were previously on critical path and the time was 16 days. D previously was planned for 8 days. Now it is planned for 10 days. But the duration of E has been reduced from 4 to 2 days. Likewise here, just after A, C was supposed to start, but start of C was delayed by 6 days. Previously C had 4 days, now C is planned for 2 days. So both these paths are now critical paths. What we need to do in this example is we need to determine the amount of tasks or project completed on daily basis, determine the planned value each day, determine the earned value each day, obtain actual cost, calculate schedule variance, calculate cost variance, calculate SPI, CPI, EAC, ETC, TSPI, TCPI, etc. and finally plot significant results. The Gantt chart for this example is that A is just like example 3, activity B is just like example 3. There is no change in activities A and B. C got delayed for 6 days, but then instead of 4 days it was compressed in 2 days at an added expense, and here we end up spending $50 per hour. Previously it was less. Likewise, D was delayed because the progress was slow, and so it could be completed in 10 days now, and we will write a revised value of dollars per hour because we have to multiply this amount with 6.4 hours per day. Actually we will be spending 8 hours, but since the work produced or the result produced is equivalent to 6.4 hours, we have to use this revised value rate so that the product of this value 6.4 and then 10 eventually comes out to be $1,800. And finally, activity E had to be compressed in 2 days at a rate of 16 hours per day, and so the revised rate of payment would be $62.5 per hour. This is the Gantt chart you would get if you use Microsoft Project for this example. Notice here the change. C now is being completed in 2 days, D takes 10 days and E takes 2 days. The baseline for activity D was this one, which is same as that of example 3, but D actually gets completed in 10 days instead of 8 days. So this is the actual duration D takes. If you look at activity C, it was planned here for 4 days, but it is actually performed here in 2 days. Finally, activity E was planned here for 4 days, but it is actually performed in 2 days somewhere here. But the completion time of the project is still 16 days. And you will notice these revised rates here. The baseline cost as per example 3 and the actual costs in this example. Again, these are the utilization of the resources and their related remunerations. Notice the rates are different here for E, Ehsan, and C activity, which is given to person by the name of Chachar, and the hours here are 80 for DAR because now it is spread over 10 days. This is the task or activity diagram. The overall project completion, notice now the EAC is 6,600. Here also you notice estimate at completion is $6,600 ACWP is also 6,600, but BCWP initially we had planned it for $4,640. And you see these variations here. Previously the baseline was like this, but the actual expenses in case of activity E, which was given to a person by the name of Ehsan, and C for charter and D for DAR, they are being paid more. This is the baseline. For A and B it is same. If instead of using the package like Microsoft Project or Primavera, we try to compute the same things ourselves, we can again make columns similar to example 3 on daily basis. We note that for initial 6 days activity A is performed and every day it consumes 8 hours. Activity B consumes 8 hours for 4 days. Once B is completed, D gets started, but now D is spread over 10 days instead of 8 days. So we write 6.4 hours. This is the amount of work accomplished, even though people will be spending, or DAR will be spending 8 hours, but his output would be equivalent to 6.4 hours. C was supposed to start after A, but it got delayed by 6 days. So after 6 days, we start C, but then complete it in 2 days by working 16 hours per day for 2 days. Likewise, E is completed in 2 days, but the amount of work performed per day is 16 hours. Again, if you add up the rows, you get these row sums: number of hours spent on the project each day, the cumulative number of hours, and the percentage of hours, which is the percent completion of the project. So overall, notice again we end with earning equivalent of 208 hours. Here the same thing, but we write the associated costs: A for 6 days, B for 4 days, D for 10 days. These 8 were initial days and these 2 are additional days. Then C gets compressed in 2 days but at a cost of $800 per day, and E compressed in 2 days at a cost of $1,000 per day. So overall, if you add up your cost, your project would get completed in $6,600. The matrix of interest now on day-to-day basis: percent planned or percent completed 7.69. This is something that we planned as per example 3, and this is something that we achieved in example 4 because of constraints on availability of resources or delays or extra expenses. This was the planned cost again from example 3, and this is the actual cost from example 4. This is the earned value. Earned value is simply the percent completed multiplied with BAC. So finally, when your percent completed is 100%, you get 4,640 because that is the earned value as per BAC. The cost variance is earned value minus actual cost. So these are the cost variances up till day 12. End of day 12, our cost variance is positive, and then for the last 4 days our cost variance is negative. The schedule variance is positive up till end of day 8, and then it is negative for next 7 days and 0 finally. Likewise, if you compute CPI and SPI, the values up till here are more than 1, something desirable. In this region they are less than 1, so not desirable. Likewise, if you look at SPI, these numbers in black are more than 1, so these are desirable values, and these numbers are not desirable. However, these numbers are still close to 1. Earning. The project planned and actual progress, in other words, percent completed, is depicted here in these two graphs. The red curve shows actual completion and the blue one shows the planned completion. Notice that up till day 6 there is no deviation. The actual performance was same as planned because activities A and B did not have any deviations. They went as per plan. It was only because of delay in C, and then subsequently we covered it up by working extra hours on activities D and E that we made it on the same day, 16 days. If we compare the cost incurred with the baseline, so our baseline was 4,640. The actual expense that we incurred is $6,600. Again, we see that up till day 6 there is no deviation, and initially the actual cost is below. After from day 6 till day 13, the actual expenditure is less compared to planned expenditure because C got delayed. So since there was no work on C, there was no expenditure on C. If we look at the plot of cost and schedule variances, you notice that this region is where the cost and schedule variances are positive, so this is desirable, and wherever they are below this horizontal line, they are negative, and these are undesirable. Similarly, if we look at the cost and schedule performance indices, if they are above 1, above this line, they are desirable, and below this line, these are not desirable. However, as we learned earlier, these indices should not be looked at in isolation. The CPI and SPI should be looked at simultaneously. In order to do that, we put the CPI and SPI values on one plot wherein the horizontal and the vertical axes cross at 1, 1. So this is not the origin. This intersection is at 1, 1. This top right quadrant indicates that the pace is faster than the schedule and we are going inexpensive. Likewise, the one at the bottom left indicates that we are costlier as well as slower. Now if you look at these points, most of these points are green in color, either because they fall above this slanting line in the desired region, or even if some points like these 2 points which fall below this slanting line are still close to 1, 1 because they are within a circle of radius 0.2. The last 2 points that are shown in amber or yellow color are still acceptable even though the values of CPI are like 0.7 and 0.75, but still these do not indicate any real threat or danger. So there is nothing serious to be concerned about. This table depicts the numerical values of estimate at completion using various relationships that we discussed in the beginning. Even though we do not need these to answer various questions of this example, but these have been computed and shown to demonstrate how using different relationships for different situations or scenarios, the values of EAC can vary. For example, at the end of day 1, one relationship gives us EAC of 4,533 while another gives us 2,276. So this EAC is almost double compared to this. But as per the statement of the problem, we need to go for EAC2. So this is the column that we will be using and that has been reproduced here. and the corresponding ETC values are placed here. These few columns showing BAC values, actual cost, earned value, CPI and SPI have been reproduced only because these have been used in computations of EAC and the ETC values. Finally, we note that at the completion of the project, the EAC value is 6,600 no matter which relationship we use. But at the end of day 15, EAC1 is 5957, EAC2 is 6067, EAC3 is 6073 and EAC4 is 6147. So these were our estimates just one day before completion of the project, whereas the actual budget for the project was $4,640. If we plot the actual cost, the earned value and the planned value graphs or curves versus days, we notice that our budget at completion that we had set in the beginning was $4,640. At the end of day 10, our CV value was positive because our earned value was more compared to the actual cost. Our SV schedule variance was negative because the earned value was less than the planned cost. At the end of day 10, we computed ETC estimate to complete as 1725 and the corresponding value of EAC came out to be $4,005. That is, if you add AC, the actual cost at the end of day 10 to 1725, you get 4005. At the end of day 16, that is at completion of the project, the estimated completion was 6,600 and hence our variance at completion was the difference between AAC and BAC, that is $1960. This table depicts the TCPI and TSPI values. Once again, some of the columns you will see reproduced, but what we do need are the columns for planned duration, earned schedule, total duration and at time. And using the values in this table, we can compute TCPI where the basis is BAC, budget at completion, as well as EAC for each row or at the end of each day. We find different values of TCPI and TSPI. Note that the TCPI and TSPI values less than 1 are desirable. We don't have any values here because since this is based on BAC, so for these last two rows, BAC is less than AC. Because of that, we could get negative values. We have not written these. Obviously, we don't need to find TCPI and TSPI values at the end of day 16. So just like the CPI and SPI values, if we plot the TCPI and TSPI values, we see that most of the points, they fall in the acceptable or desired region. There are 4 points that fall in the amber region, and this one point that we see, this actually represents the TCPI versus TSPI values for first 4 days, the TCPI value being 1.428 and TSPI value being 1. However, with every passing day, the graph moved towards safer and safer region, and after 8 days we were completely in the green region, wherein our TCPI and TSPI values were in the desirable region because most of those were below 1. So here is what we can conclude from today's lecture. If the CPI value is less than 1 or correspondingly the cost variance is less than 0, that means it is negative, it indicates that the project is over budget. If the SPI value is less than 1, meaning the schedule variance is negative, it indicates that the project is behind schedule. The values of schedule variance and cost variance, or values of CPI and SPI, or correspondingly the TCPI and TSPI values, should be considered simultaneously to assess the project status. The estimate to complete ETC value would change with passage of time depending on revised rates, delays, extra expenses, and so on. Accordingly, the estimate at completion EAC will also change. We need to use the relevant relationship to find ETC or EAC, and we have to choose the relationship based upon the current project status, meaning whether the cost variance exists, schedule variance exists, and if these variances exist, are they expected to continue or are they expected to decline and go to 0? Finally, the TCPI and TSPI values less than 1 are desirable. This is all for today's lecture.